Hello, welcome back to Family and Fit, where we talk fitness and how to integrate your busy lifestyle. So today we're here in our home gym working out, and what we're going to be doing today is a little bit of isolation work. We're going to be working on our traps, our biceps, and our shoulders, maybe a little bit of back isolation. And one quick tip I want to go ahead and start off with. This would be the day that you would leave out if there was a day where you got behind in your workouts, because you always want to stick to your compound movements first, and the isolation movements are just extra. They're nice to get, but it's way harder to build a great physique with just doing isolation movements. And you know, the isolation movements also do help a lot with lagging body parts, so that's another good place for doing isolation movements. So we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into it. We're gonna just go ahead and jump right into it. What are we gonna do, Lamb?
We're going to curls, biceps. But guys, in the future, we might be start selling this if you guys really want to. Check this out. Family Fit. Look, he has the tag on it still. Merch. Merch you can buy. Go get it at the website that we don't have up yet.
Here, I don't mean you hold this.
You're silly.
Right?
So yeah, well, another thing that I'm utilizing this day for is I'm utilizing for my lagging body parts. So the traps are not necessarily a lagging body part for me, but they're a body part that I want to really stand out, because to me it gives you the appearance that you work out with or without a shirt on, and it's just, to me, it's one of the muscles that if you don't target, you don't have them, and it's just a true indicator of somebody who's really into fitness and who really takes fitness seriously. Another thing is my biceps are lagging, so that's why I am gonna be hitting bicep curls. Through this whole entire past year and a half, I've pretty much done like 0 bicep curls, and I'm just now gonna be getting into doing bicep curls as an isolation movement. Generally, all I've done is back movements for my biceps. I've hit a few like finisher sets of biceps, but never really took it serious and never went hard on biceps. And then another thing is shoulders. Shoulders is actually not a lagging body part of mine. It's actually one of my most dominant features, I believe, as far as having a good-looking physique. My thing is I want to keep that, I want to maintain that, and I want to emphasize on that because I have decent shoulders genetically. I want to take advantage of that and make them pop even more, and to give me an even broader look up top, and just, you know, maximize on my genetic strengths that I do have, and also try to, you know, conquer some of my weaker points as well, so I don't look like I don't lift in my biceps at all.
Lokai, this time, please let me be in the video, not like your other one.
Like what?
Your other video.
What?
You cut me out, bro.
No, I didn't.
Almost, every single time I do my set, you cut it out.
Did I?
Yeah, bro. Only thing I got to do is literally just do this one time, bro. Seriously. So, I can't be more than
Do you want to see the camera? Do you want to go up here?
Well, yeah, can I get the shot, please? In a few minutes, we'll let you say, go subscribe to Family and Fit at the end, okay? Again, the hand grip.
There you go, big dog.
145. Okay, how much can you do? 245?
Huh?
45?
Yeah, but that's not saying much.
Here go those 200 pounds for me.
Oh, let's get some lifts in, dog.
1, 2, 3 diabetes. 5 second. I don't know, 2. 5 second breaks. Hold for 2, 5 seconds.
Do you want to ride on my back? Do you want that ride? You want to go on my back?
Get that money.
$1,000.
Why do you cross your eyes like that?
More hard one for the men! Feel it. You don't want to go like this, guys. They break your back. 2, 3.
Hey, come on, kids, please.
Guys, stop
crying in the background, screaming in the background. Okay? I can't shoot a video if y'all are being so loud. Play, but play quietly. Well, go to your room then. Well, then play quietly here.
Okay, I'm Bicep.
Alright, get loud, Leah.
Look at Leah. Look at her, brother. She's strong for her age. I can barely pick her up. But dang, look at some muscle. Try to pick me up.
Alright, so I'm going to start out with some light weight and just make this sag, hang, and just put a little bit of tension on the traps. And another thing I suggest with going really, really light is really fill your traps out. Your head, as far as leaning down like this or being up like this, makes a huge difference. My shoulders are not moving very much. It's the movement of my head that causes my shoulders to move. So as I lean my face down or lean my face up, it targets the upper part of the traps versus more in the back of the traps or towards the top of your back area. And I highly, highly suggest anybody starting off with doing trap exercises that you go very light in weight so that you can fill this out. And really, don't worry about trying to do shrugs or anything like that. And just let the weight hang. Do rack pulls with it. And essentially, the rack pull motion is more so to give a rest, for me at least. And kind of the way I would suggest going about it is give yourself a rest so that, you know, when the weight gets unbearable, you can set the weight down. Essentially, what you're wanting to do is hold for long periods of time. To add reps into this, I kind of like to bounce. So it's mainly time under tension, but then bouncing. But you have to really build that mind-muscle connection with your traps because it's hard to get the right bounce. Because if you bounce too much, you won't fill up your traps anymore. And if you don't bounce the right way, like you're bouncing with your knees too much or just overall have the wrong body motion, just like with any other move in working out, you're not going to be working out the right muscle. And with the traps, they're a lot harder muscle to target just because you don't use them very much. They're not a very utilized muscle. Unless you just happen to have a job that, you know, you're carrying weight around all the time, like a bricklayer, or just doing a more of a upward pulling motion. That'll target your traps a little bit. But yeah, there's not a lot of motion that we do as humans, especially in modern days, that targets the traps. So that's why it's such a big definer of people who work out and people who don't. And right now, I don't even really need the wrist straps. I still would utilize the wrist straps on this because this is an isolation movement for me. Another thing to do in between reps is to swap hand grip. You can either swap between sets, swap between reps, but I would definitely make sure that you swap because your hand positioning changes the way that you're targeting your traps quite a bit as well. Like I noticed, like with my hand over top the bar, is targeting more towards the top side, more towards the front of the trap, whereas having my hand on the underside of the bar is targeting more towards the back of the trap and the upper back. Do you want to go lighter to really target your traps, or do you feel good filling your traps? How you feeling?
Go lighter, but put another weight. So you go one.
Well, let's take one of these off for now. Yeah. Because I can fill them good at this weight.
Really?
So which means you should definitely be able to fill them. at a lighter weight.
25, 50, 95 pounds. 11 kilograms. I have no idea what kilograms are, but they are something. I don't know what they are. It's like London.
Try to just hold and put your head back. Try to do it like this. Allow your body to
Oh,
rock
I definitely feel it right here when you like stretch it out like this. It's like more coming on like kind of deeper. And go like this, raise it up. I'm gonna drop that. I don't know why. I don't know why.
I start getting heavier in weight. I love dropping it.
Really? Like, boom.
Yeah, I just love the sound of it.
Like,
And the massive weight just smashing down because it's so heavy.
I could do about 10 of these probably.
There you go. She wasn't bar anymore.
I'm messing up. I keep going like this.
Like what?
When I keep raising it up, I kind of like, I'm still kind of like this, but I'm kind of like more leaned over. So I need to fix that. It feels like really wide.
How's the weight feel?
I can go heavier. I
Yep.
think. I don't think I actually can. Maybe like I can still do those, but it's a little too hard. Maybe like how much are those 25s?
25 each.
Probably like a 10 on maybe. And that's it.
Yeah, they look like
How the hell is this?
they look like they're too light.
They're a
Just by
little
the way
too.
you're holding it.
They're a little too light.
It's really light and try to hold longer and do different stuff up here. Head forward. Yeah, let your shoulders rotate in though. Like kind of bow down, pull up, bow down, pull up. Bow down, pull up. Yeah, I think part of it's that rack's a little too short for you.
Right here.
Let me show you what I'm talking about the bow down thing. So that's just a matter of moving your neck, but then letting your shoulders follow your neck as well. So here's where you're staying at, and you're pretty much doing this. So not just a neck motion. So not just a neck motion. It's not just that. It's a but the top of your shoulders roll over. So boom, top of the shoulders rolling over. Pulling back. You're pulling back with your upper part of your back. Boom. Kind of thrusting your hips. See, I'm bending at my knees a little bit, bending at the hips a little bit. My butt's poking out just a hair bit to get me like a bowed over. Like I'm bowing, just a minor amount. And then boom. This is where the mind muscle connection comes in with, because if you bend over too far, you won't feel it in your traps no more.
Really?
You'll start to feel it in your back, in your middle back.
Should be good. Slide through.
So I'm letting the weight hang off my traps first. In order to do that, you don't want to be bent over too much. If you start pulling up on the weight to build a little bit of tension, and you feel it in your middle back and not in your traps, you're bent over too much. So I like to kind of get my arms a little straight and then kind of pop my hips underneath my shoulders. So my shoulders are already where they need to be. My arms are hanging where they need to be. I pop my body underneath my shoulders. So boom. And then I pop, lift up, and then I kind of do the same thing, but instead of setting down, I bend over a little bit like I'm gonna sit down, and like I'm in that stretched arm position, and then I pop back again.
Okay.
And I go forward, and I pop back again.
Talking about roller coaster, like where you're going downhill, then you go uphill.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. So
Like gravity pull you kind of.
what you're doing with this is you're adding a range of motion to the movement. So instead of being a static workout where you're just holding in one exact position,
Yeah.
you're allowing for the different muscle fibers to be fired as you rotate your shoulders inward and outward.
Okay.
And the shoulders themselves should actually stay in the same position. It's more of a your traps position to your body in a, what do you call it, not parallel. So you're going from a more parallel stance to a more bent over stance, back to a parallel stance to a more bent over stance. And when I say parallel, you're actually a hair bit behind the parallel. And you'll feel that as you work on your mind-muscle connection with traps. And as I'm speaking right now, and as I'm speaking to you guys, I'm speaking to myself as well. And these are the kind of conversations you should have with yourself as far as like if you're hitting your muscles correctly and different cues to help target your muscle fibers and to really find that mind-muscle connection. Because the mind-muscle connection is just you being in touch with your different muscles and the different muscle fibers within that muscle, and just feeling how different hand grips, different hand widths, different stances, how they affect your muscle fibers. Everybody's muscle fibers are slightly different, even though mechanically our majority of muscle will be in the exact same way as somebody else's, but you may have muscle fibers that are inserted in a different position, so therefore you might actually get more of a burn during a certain part of the range of motion than somebody else. So say for instance, I might get more burn as I'm sitting back, where somebody else might get more burn whenever they lean forward. And that's just based on your genetics and really nothing you can do about that. Everybody's just different. Doing a mind-muscle connection exercise may not be a bad idea for almost every lift that you're doing. Going super light, not worrying about the repetitions at all. Don't count. Don't use any of your mental capacity and your mind-body capacity to do anything other than focus on that muscle. Because you can't really multitask and try to focus on counting and doing this and that. Work on different cues of like moving your limbs or whatever part you're working out. So since we're doing traps, focus on doing different things with your body, different hand grips, different reverse hand grips, neutral hand grips and all that. And then also, like I'm talking about with leaning over and leaning back, try your neck in different positions. Try holding your neck back the whole time and then leaning forward. Try putting your head forward and leaning. And just try these different things and do them at a very, very light weight. Do them at a weight that you don't necessarily feel a burn. You can literally, if you go slow enough, you can start to feel the muscle fibers actually firing and feel what muscles. If you really, really concentrate, you can feel on the muscle fibers, and they will let you know how you're working out and what muscles and muscle fibers are being targeted. Because there's major muscles where like you can pretty much not know what you're doing at all, work out and do stuff like the bench press and still make gains. But say for instance your chest is lagging, well, one other way besides doing isolated chest workouts is to use mind-muscle connection when doing the bench and dumbbell press and other compound movements. And then when it comes to stuff like the traps, which are just a really hard muscle to target, and it's just one of the more difficult ones, especially when trying to do shrugs. Like I almost can't even target my traps when doing shrugs. I have to do multiple sets of these before I can even get to a point where I can do shrugs and actually feel them in my traps. If not, I just kind of feel them like in my shoulders and like weird places. Like I feel it pulling on like tendon. My muscle's not actually holding up the weight.
My gut hurts.
Did you? It's really ain't that much weight. I don't know how much it is. How much is it? Like, it's like 145 plus 45s.
Wait.
235.
Dang.
So this is 235 right here. which is still very light to most people. Alpha Destiny, who is pretty much an expert in building up the yoke and the traps and all that. I think he can do like 1,000 pounds or something like that. I'm nowhere near that. I might be able to do like 500 or something like that.
Did you say 1,000 pounds?
Yep.
Dang.
Yep.
Yeah, big dog.
And yeah, I'm nowhere near that, and I'm okay with that. It's not that big of a deal for me. It's working my way up there. One of these days I'll hit that 1,000 mark. Right now it's just slow progression. I also feel a lot of activation in my back too, just from doing the leaning motion. When you're down in this downward position, if you come over too much, it'll quickly transition to your middle back muscles being targeted. That's one thing that makes the upper trap so hard to target, is because there's a very small range of motion before there's like an instant trigger to the middle back. Whereas like certain muscles, like say for instance if you're doing lat pull downs or something like that, throughout the entire range of motion you have a pretty good bicep and lat activation. And same thing with chest. You have a pretty good chest and tricep activation as you're going through the movement and throughout the entire range of or exercise, however you want to call it. But when it comes to traps, there's not very much range of motion. Like just moving your shoulders within inches can completely transition your trap being fired to not being fired whatsoever. How much was the hand grip in this? I had it under him a second ago. And as I get heavier and heavier in weight, I'll do more of like a strength approach to my lift, or I'll lift heavier and I won't lift as many reps, and I'll take way longer rest periods. So I get my arms locked out, right where they need to be, and I tuck my hips underneath. I thrust my pelvis in towards it, and then from there I lift off. And lean back. And then lean forward. And then lean back. Forward. Also, you might notice a little bit of pop when I go from my forward to my back. And part of that is the weight dragging on my legs. It allows for me to kind of pop the weight up off my legs and over as and you see me do kind of a slight shrug motion. I'm not trying to do a shrug at all. I'm just trying to get my shoulders set into upward position. So I'm really not on the concentric portion of the movement. I'm not really going through the range of motion. I'm hanging at the bottom, and then I'm jumping up to the top of the motion without really having much muscle activation. Even though being that this is heavy, the muscle activation still remains there pretty much the entire time. Maybe for a split second it's not there, but then whenever I go back down, I'm trying to keep it a little bit slower, and I'm trying to feel it on my traps the entire way as I'm leaning back over. But the trying to pull the weight up and set your shoulders back into the top portion of the motion, it's very difficult to do while trying to drag through your legs. And I'd rather not waste a lot of energy trying to drag through my legs and really get a better mind-muscle connection. Because like me having to try to drag through my legs makes me focus extra concentration on trying to drag the weight through my legs versus me just popping up and then being in my set position where I'm ready and I can let the weight hang on my traps again. So get my shoulders ready again, pop under with my hips, and up, back a bit, and forward. Pop, upward position again. Let the weight hang up here in this upward position. Make sure you feel it on your traps. After you pop back and you really feel it on your traps, start leaning forward. Don't start leaning forward until you feel it on your traps, unless you just feel like you're going to incur an injury. Then, drop the weight or lower the weight, whatever you need to do, just don't incur an injury. But yeah, definitely don't start lowering until you pop, because like that one I just did there, I popped and I was in the upward position, but I wasn't feeling the tension on my traps at all. So I kind of had to reposition, wiggle a little bit, get my shoulders in the right position, hang there for a second, and then I could allow myself to lower down. Use wrist straps.
Wrap around like this.
Nope. So what you want to do first is you want this part to be tight first. Okay, because if this part ain't tight, then don't take no tension off your hand. Okay, and then what you do is you slap your wrist on the bar. Just your wrist on the bar. Right there, see that crossing?
Yep.
here. Now grab the strap with your hand. Pull your hand up a little bit. There you go. Just like that hole right there. Same thing. Slap your wrist on the bar. Oh, other direction, remember?
Yep.
Slap your wrist on the bar. Alright. Hold it. Grab it. Pull up. And you're ready.
That'll work.
Don't worry about this. Lift it like normal. The straps don't do anything. You just lift like normal. There you go. There you go.
200. How much?
Come on, you get 2 more reps. Don't lose your straps. 2 more reps for it to be real.
Oh my god. I'm so proud of myself. I just lost 200 pounds.
3 seconds each hold. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Oh, my house battle right here. Just right here.
You got it. Ready?
1 second.
Count it out. Out loud.
1, 2, 3.
Come on, you got it one time. You can get it one more. Another thing that I love, guys, is doing pyramid style workouts where you start off with a lighter weight, kind of utilize your first few reps as a warm up, and then go to a heavy weight, almost like a PR max. I almost always hit a PR max, or like my 1 rep, not necessarily for a max, but just a 1 rep set, and then I'll pyramid back down. I'll reverse pyramid back down just to, I just love that because you hit a hypertrophy workout and then you still hit some strength gains on the way, and to me that's just the best workout. I love doing hybrid style workout where you're training hypertrophy and strength. It's just my personal favorite style. Another thing that we'll also be adding with this exercise.
I did almost.
Another thing that we're doing today is we're going to be doing some supersetting because we want to make this workout as fast and efficient as possible. And then also, some of the workouts that we'll be doing are really good for one another. So when we're doing the shoulder flies, that's going to be very complementary towards doing the rack pulls, because whenever you have a very good workout going with your traps, you start doing some shoulder flies, and you can actually feel the shoulder flies in your traps a little bit as well, and it helps a little bit with the mind-muscle connection up in that area. We did go ahead and start off and did multiple sets of this before we jumped into any supersetting, and the reason why is to get that mind-muscle connection going and to establish that for the day, because every time you sleep you can lose a little bit of mind-muscle connection, and if this is not an exercise you do on a daily basis, then it's an easy one to lose. So I want to go ahead and get that reiterated in my brain, go ahead and get his brain reiterated to
I just lost 200 pounds.
Hell yeah. But you just got to reiterate your brain to fill that muscle out before you start adding any extra things that are going on around you. And that's just, it's definitely, it's almost a must. Let's go. Come on, one more rep. Come on. If you do one more of those, I'll do all the weights on the ground.
Oh, hell yeah. Just wrap this around for me, bro.
Okay.
I'm Lord, I'm Jesus.
Here, roll it back. Get your arms locked out and then roll it back. Come on, big dog.
I can do anything.
Put your feet closer together. Toes forward. There you go. Might help you with getting a little bit more height on it. There you go. You look taller. There you go. That looks a lot better.
I can do anything.
Ready? And go. Come on. Jaw clicker. Let's go! Oh, come on.
Fuck this. I don't
No, you gotta have the wraps on your hands won't go hold the weight.
Really?
Guaranteed it. Guaranteed it.
No, I'm trying it, bro.
Okay.
Come on, make how you. I want you for till tomorrow night.
Come on, big dog. Come on.
Woo! Get that out of here.
235 for a 12-year-old. Over here making me look bad.
2 times.
Alright, let's get all this weight on here, dude.
Let's do this, bro.
I gotta do it no wrist straps too.
No respect. Sing hard.
Make sure these weights go on evenly. So I'm doing the bottom weight here first, which is a 10.
Yeah, do that.
And then 2 5s.
When I was like 4 years old, I was in mom's garage or carport. Guess what? I had a 45. I was rolling it, and I hit my toe, my big toe. It's so bad.
Okay. I don't get wrist straps either. So we go
How much is this?
Clue. Probably about 300 something pounds.
Oh God! Look, bro. I'll make sure it's recording. You're good.
Actually, I don't think this is that heavy. The hardest part's gonna be my hand strength.
Oh, definitely.
3, 2.
I saw the bar go like this.
Did you?
That's crazy.
One more again. Reversing the hand grip and going for one more. Make things even.
Get it done, bro.
Woo!
So 245 pounds, right? Or how much?
What's that? That's what you lifted, yeah?
Yeah. Oh my God. That's crazy. Bro, look, I'm literally look. Hey, look, all these calluses for the day. It's not here like burning off. 5. It's only 10 pounds, guys, by the way. 6. Almost 6.
Alright, guys. So the camera's about to die. I want to go ahead and take y'all through one other thing real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a set. I want to show you guys like what a set with this workout will consist of, and maybe the methodology. So what you've seen there was very typical for the very first few sets, is me to hit a set and hit one thing hard, and that's to get a lot of fatigue and a lot of just not necessarily fatigue, and to get a lot of activation before I really get started into the workout and start going towards a more fatigued stage. Also, that was a lot for activation, as I mentioned before. But I'm just going to take you through a quick set. Hopefully the camera don't die on me. And what I mean by quick set, the set will be actually general speed at which I would hit a superset like this. So this is more heavy than what I'd like to do for multiple. I would rather do higher repetition and not as much weight. At least like probably 5 reps or so. Yeah, that's too heavy. So, like I said, that would have been lighter. I'd have done more like 5 reps. Immediately gonna come over here, grab my dumbbells. As my camera's about to die, so I would have went ahead and adjusted these and went a little bit heavier. I still always stay really light on my shoulders. And for the first couple sets, what I would do is I would just bounce back and forth between these 2 exercises. And then what I would start to do is I'd add in my 3rd exercise, which I'd be doing bicep curls. I'd go immediately from my shoulders to doing bicep curls. You can do them either way you want, if you want to do them both at the same time or do alternating. That's up to you and just your preference. And also, if you lean over here a bit with these as well, it'll help target those traps as well. And so that's another thing, is like at the beginning of the sets, I'd lean over a little bit more, get a little bit more activation back there in the traps, and then after I feel that I got a significant workout in my traps, I would drop off the rack pulls, and I would drop off my leaning forward on my shoulder flies, and I would stand more upright and just do a standard shoulder fly where I'm really targeting my shoulders. And then from there, start hitting into my curls even more. And just in between the two, doing the shoulder flies and the bicep curls, you'll also get a little bit of activation for the bicep curls in the front of your shoulder. And that comes from lifting, if you lift your elbow up at all, that motion right there will target the front of your shoulder. These are really light, so I'm just kind of messing around right now. But I just want to give y'all an idea of how we go about it. I would like to keep all these no higher than 15 reps. I would like to keep everything in about 12 reps. A couple less, couple more, it's not too big of a deal, but that's generally the rep range that I like to stay at. The rack pulls are going to be a little bit heavier, but that's because they are more of a time under tension than a repetition type of workout, and it's more of a static workout than it is a full range of motion type of workout. It's hard to get full range of motion with the traps like I mentioned before because it's not much range of motion. So yeah, let me know if you guys like this type of content. If the video was too long, too short, let me know, because a lot of this video was cut out due to time, because this video was like an hour-long video. So I cut most of this video out. And let me know if you'd like to see more or less, if you just like for me to do more highlights. Let me know if you'd like some longer style content. Just put it down in the comments below. And yeah, I hope to see y'all in the next one. And make sure you hit that subular button.